As a disclaimer, I was a Nitrado partner until very recently we switched to Gportal because I was not satisfied with the service of Nitrado. However, this video has nothing to do with my position as a partner or ex-partner of a server hoster, but it's just to help you learn about the current happenings around a strange Snailgames deal. Now that we got this out of the way, there has been a very lively discussion in the ARK Server admin Discord about a document that Snailgames USA made official back in July. The document is about an agreement Snailgames USA made with Nitrado's parent company, BLUESKY GmbH. BLUESKY GmbH invests a little bit more than $4 million in the development of ARK Survival Ascendend, and in return BLUESKY gets Nitrado exclusive server hosting rights for ARK Survival Ascendend. But this deal goes even further. If ARK Survival Ascendend is not released for the PC platform by October 31st, this exclusivity extends to ARK Survival Evolved as well. There's also this clause that should they meet the deadline, this funding will be paid off by ARK Survival Ascendend sales alone, but if they don't meet the deadline, BLUESKY has the right to get 20% of virtually all sales within the ARK IP, so ARK Survival Ascendend, ARK 2, etc. Snailgames USA is also required to report to BLUESKY about any planning on development for ARK Survival Ascendend, so all development, release timeline, business plan and marketing, etc. Basically, Snailgames now has to report to BLUESKY. BLUESKY is also entitled with notice on site to review the reports for accuracy. If Snailgames USA goes bankrupt for any reason, then BLUESKY will have a lower priority when it comes to monetizing the existing assets and distributing them to the creditors. However, BLUESKY would get their money before the shareholders, which is kinda interesting. And that's a rough summary of the agreement, but now let's get to the problematic point: server exclusivity for ARK. We have already figured out that official servers will be hosted by Nitrado again, but these papers indicate that Nitrado will have an exclusive right to private servers, with one exception: you host the server on your own hardware and your server is non-commercial. Here it is clearly stated though that you must own the server. With hosting companies you usually don't own a server, but you rent it. The exclusivity period is 7 years. ARK Survival Evolved is excluded from this regulation up to and including the current version. But now comes the kicker. If ARK Survival Ascendend is not released by October 31st, this exclusivity clause will be transferred to ARK Survival Evolved. If other hosters want to continue to offer ARK as a server option, they must contact BLUESKY according to the agreement, and then they can offer the server license to these companies, presumably for a fee. But in this case, BLUESKY would have the competition in their hands. The key date when these consequences will be visible for us is October 31st. But now to my opinion, and please keep in mind that is really just my opinion based on this document, which I could have misunderstood in some passages because American law English is everyone's final boss. There's several reasons this happened or could happen. I've heard people say that Snailgames is broke, and I don't think that's likely because their financials are all public. This agreement was preceded by Snail not paying the server cost for the official servers since March, and this is a common tactic to push business partners into an agreement. Or if it was clear from the beginning that the server costs were part of the agreement, then you have to make the agreement beforehand, before anything happens. Twitter comes to my mind as an example. After his takeover, Elon Musk virtually stopped paying bills, neither rent for his office space nor fees for server infrastructure, to force the other parties to negotiate. Because for these companies, it's often more important to keep these clients than to lose them, even if the profit that comes out afterwards is lower than before. Studio Wildcard is one of Nitrado's biggest clients. In the past, Nitrado had to deal with cutbacks, layoffs, and a general shitstorm where employees and former employees complained about their working conditions. One employee, who said she was fired, reported on the job review site Glassdoor that the pay was so low that employees were homeless and had to sleep in their cars because they couldn't pay the housing bills with their wages. This is of course always to be seen with caution because everyone can write what they want on Glassdoor, but many reports on different websites overlap, and I also noticed this year how in the German area a handful of their employees were suddenly all just gone. So Nitrado is very interested in keeping Snailgames as a client and is therefore more willing to negotiate, even though if some months of invoices were not paid by Snail. So you see, the story is a little bit more complicated than just Snail is broke and Nitrado helps them out. It could just as easily be Snail forces Nitrado to renegotiate server agreements. Both are entirely possible, and I'm waiting to see if other server hosts will speak up about this, because there are many server hosters that offer ARK. and all of them will be affected. If I learn more, I will let you know. And if you still have questions, comments, or remarks, you know where to put them down in the comments. See you next time. Bye!